Hey everyone, it's Zach with Atlanta Warhammer, and today we're talking about the top 5 biggest changes in the General's Handbook 2020. Before we get started, thank you for subscribing, and this video is sponsored by Gigabytes Cafe in Marietta, Georgia. Number 5. Multiple factions sent to Legends. It's likely that this does not affect many players, but the ones that it does impact are definitely going to feel it. The Legends section of the pitched battle profiles are where old war scrolls go to live out their retirement. Games Workshop specifically mentions that these are not intended for use in competitive play and that their profiles will no longer be updated. While it may be true that these armies weren't seeing a lot of tabletop time already, it's a definite blow to dedicated Greenskins and Tomb Kings players. Of course, the most important new addition to the Legends War Scrolls is definitely Slambo. Number 4. Custom Character Generator. Okay, so this one isn't exactly a change because it didn't exist before, but it is really cool, and you've probably seen a lot of people already posting their homebrew characters. Called the Anvil of Apotheosis, the character generator allows you to make, exactly what it says, a custom hero that you can use in narrative games. There's even a way to convert them for points if you're playing in a tournament that will allow them, although they can get a little imbalanced right now, so there's definitely going to need to be some sort of balancing built in. What's great about this is that some factions have a hard time fielding heroes in certain categories, such as mounted quick heroes or wizards. This gives you the chance to add those in thematically. Or, you can throw logic completely out the window and have a Nurgling hero with a Rend 3 weapon that does 5 damage each hit. While the rest of the changes on this list have definitely inspired both negative and positive responses in the community, the Anvil of Apotheosis is an absolute win. Number 3. Endless Spell Limit. This is another one that may not affect a lot of players, but it will definitely have a big impact on magic-heavy armies such as Hallowheart from the Cities of Sigmar. In a 2,000 point game, an army will be restricted to bringing only 3 endless spells. That drops down to 2 endless spells for a 1,000 point game. Considering that some magic-heavy lists were bringing 5 or even 6 endless spells to the table, this is definitely going to make players be more selective about what they choose. If you're asking yourself how they came to 3 as the correct number, well, they sell them in boxes of 3, so there you go. Number 2. No more stacking saves. This is a change obviously geared towards making games faster and a little more simple, but it's definitely going to change how a few factions work, notably things like Nurgle and a lot of death armies. The rule as written states you cannot make more than 1 dice roll, excluding rerolls, to negate a wound or mortal wound that has been allocated to a model. If you could use more than 1 ability to negate allocated wounds or mortal wounds, you must pick which ability you will use. It seems like this change is intended to pull back on some armies that had ways to stack multiple saves after their initial armor save. What remains to be seen is if these factions can remain competitive with what is admittedly a pretty big nerf. I mean, it's still nothing compared to what they did to Slambo. And the number 1 biggest change in the General's Handbook 2020? No more realm artifacts. Well, okay, so technically there are still realm artifacts and you can still play a faction that's from a specific realm. But gone are the days of declaring your army is from a specific realm just to nab a really neat artifact. That's because Games Workshop said that the Malign Portents artifact list, which players have been using for the last few years, would no longer be allowed for tournament play. Now, like I said, you can still declare that your army is from a specific realm, and you do get access to an alternate realm artifact, but there's only one instead of a handful per realm. And it's worth mentioning that these artifacts are generally less powerful than those found in the Malign Portents book. This is definitely going to change how the game plays because, let's face it, these realm artifacts were in almost every list, and most of the time players were ignoring the ones in their faction book specifically. Hopefully this will lead to a lot more creativity in lists, as players won't feel pressured to take one of the artifacts that they pretty much had to take to stay competitive. And there it is, folks, the top 5 changes in the General's Handbook 2020. There is, of course, a lot more in the book, including rules for an entirely airborne game and a completely updated way to play multiplayer massive battles, but we'll be covering all of those in a later podcast episode. Speaking of podcasts, the Atlanta Warhammer podcast is available now on whatever podcast service you use or on atlantawarhammer.com. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay safe out there.